Oh, that has that arrow smell, that strong arrow smell. Hey guys, what's going on? This is your old pal CHH, and we are here today to talk about Jason Goes to Hell, the new 4K UHD release from Arrow Video. With this being a Friday the 13th related video, I'd be remiss if I just don't indulge a little bit and talk about Jason Goes to Hell. Now, I could talk to you about the scenes I love, whether I think the movie's good or not, but you're going to hear a lot about that, so let me give you a small story that fans of the channel know, but if you're new, you'll enjoy this. I got into horror around 2009 and initially started with the Friday the 13th films. I'm admittedly not a lifelong horror fan. Long story short, I pick up Jason Goes to Hell on DVD from Walmart. I bring it home, and me and my brother are getting ready to watch it. We had just got back from Anytime Fitness. I remember this because we got back home and we were starving, ready to eat dinner. And I pull out the DVD of this, and there was a Jason X and a Freddy vs. Jason in this multi-pack I had gotten. It was the Jason Slasher pack that came out basically right after the remake had come out. And he looks at him and he goes, "Oh yeah, Jason Goes Straight to Hell. Let's watch that one." History was made. From that point on, I could never call the movie Jason Goes to Hell. It is, to me, officially Jason Goes Straight to Hell. Fast forward all these years, I've had ups and downs with Jason Goes to Hell, but the reality is I've always enjoyed rewatching it when I watch the movies in a marathon. It is a certain breath of, maybe not fresh air, but it's a different scent altogether from anything we'd witnessed before. The one thing I'll say about Jason Goes to Hell that I think, if anything you guys want to agree or disagree with, you'll agree with this. I think Jason Goes to Hell is the last Friday the 13th film to truly feel vintage. Yes, Jason X was over 20 years ago now, but Jason Goes to Hell was the early 90s. It was the last movie that has that really unique vintage feel to it. In a lot of ways, I find that Jason Goes to Hell feels more vintage than even some of the previous actual Paramount Friday the 13th movies. All in all, I love Jason Goes to Hell. I know that the film has problems, but hey, what film doesn't, especially for a ninth entry in a slasher franchise? I enjoy watching this movie, and I don't make anything more out of it than what it needs to be. It's the ninth Friday the 13th film, and that's what it is. So guys, when we had the announcement of Friday the 13th's remake coming out on 4K last year, no one was more surprised than me, and I thought it was a great release. So with Arrow getting the rights to do this one and Jason X, which of course we will review, these deserve their own videos, not one video, I was pleasantly surprised. Now, what you'll notice on this is it looks like the artwork was done by the same artist and has the same style as the remake, as well as Jason X, which we'll look at in more detail soon. I gotta say, I really like this cover art. I think this one is my favorite out of the three. I don't know. When I look at Jason X, I could change my mind. But I gotta admit, this is really nice. It is a wild world we're living in. It is definitely the Twilight Zone because we have Arrow Video putting out a 4K of Jason Goes to Hell, while Scream Factory still has the license for the box set. So guys, I've rambled enough. Let's talk about it. Jason Goes to Hell on 4K UHD. You're probably wondering, well, Christian, which version did you watch? And most of you are probably saying, well, of course he watched the unrated version on 4K. And to that I say, I did. Okay, I did. That was the version I wanted to watch on here. And let's talk about the picture quality. Yesterday, when I saw that this was going to be arriving, and I wanted to refresh myself on the Scream Factory Blu-ray. Now, I have the reissued disc that they did when they didn't exactly release that thing completely uncut. And I gotta say, that release Scream Factory did looks great. It is super competitive, still till this day. It looks fantastic, and they did a great job on it. I believe that was a 2K scan from the inner positive. Now, why they did that instead of not just using the negative, it could have been because they couldn't get their hands on it, or it was cheaper to remaster that. I don't know. But this is a 4K from the camera negative. Now, do I think it looks better than the Scream Factory? Do I think it doesn't? I gotta give you some details, but my initial blanket answer is Yes, and it should, right? I mean, this is a whole new format. This is 4K UHD we're talking about. I definitely think this is the best looking way to watch it, but it's not going to be the biggest jump you've ever seen because of how good that Blu-ray was that Scream Factory did. I was grinning ear to ear watching this on 4K. Some of the stuff that really stuck out to me was in the beginning, when we see this great visual shot of Camp Crystal Lake and you see the sun in the background. The HDR and 4K shines right there. And a lot of the stuff in the beginning, there's a great level of clarity at night because, as you remember, the woman who is Agent Marcus, she's going through this camp and she's in this cabin with the lights off a lot, but there's a great level of definition where you can make out everything. Everything looks crisp and clear. And then when those bright lights hit and Jason is surrounded by this mob of policemen, these special agents getting ready to gun him down, that all looked fantastic. And then the fire explodes. If you've watched any of my 4K reviews in the past, I've always said this: fire looks so good on 4K, and Jason Goes to Hell is no exception. It looked so good. One of the other scenes in this film that I said to myself, this looks so good, was the diner scene. Whenever you get inside the diner for the first time for the 2-for-1 Jason burger sale, that's where I said, wow, this looks incredible. And when you see her going into the back and poking the holes in the meat to make the hockey mask, well, this is why we're having the 2-for-1 burger sale. That scene just looked so good. I was really impressed with that. Other scenes that were fantastic too, and this is probably my favorite scene of the film. Do you remember when Jason's taking the body of this cop that has kind of a bald head, goes into the Bruce Campbell style, news reporter, and then that cop starts to melt? Talk about incredible. That scene is where the 4K for me was like, wow, this looks fantastic. I loved it. And can we also say that that scene has no business being that good? When it comes to melting scenes, I'd put that Jason Goes to Hell scene in the top 10 of all human melting scenes of all time. As a matter of fact, it could even be top 5. Don't believe me? Go back and rewatch this when you guys pick this up, or grab one of your previous releases and tell me it's not that good. I mean, the K&B guys did such a good job. Other scenes where I thought the 4K looked really good, and it's a small scene, but I love it. It's when John D. LeMay's character leaves the diner after talking to his ex-girlfriend and baby mama's actual mom at the diner, and he's driving to her house where he's just kind of jamming in the car. Man, the blues hitting inside the car looked fantastic. I mean, look, this is a Friday the 13th film, so I was watching this film with binoculars on because I'm watching Jason Goes to Hell on a new format for the first time. I can't relive what I just did. I can try, but watching this for the first time on 4K is something I can only do once, and I was savoring every second of it. I threw my phone across the house when I hit play in here to watch this thing. Nothing was going to distract me. When it comes to picture quality, it is better than the Scream Factory Blu-ray, in my humble opinion. Rightfully so, it should be. This is 4K. That was a 2K from, I believe, the inner positive. This is a 4K from the negative. So, in terms of the picture quality on this, I'm going to give it a 9.6 out of 10. I would put this one over the quality of Friday 09 a little bit, although that one was super impressive too. I loved it. But this one was fantastic. And here's the best thing I can say about this 4K. It still keeps that incredibly immersive vintage vibe on the film. It didn't look so good that it made the film feel different aesthetically. And I just credit that to the way they shot this film, the lighting of this film, the scenery that they shot this in. I mean, that diner aesthetic and all that is so good. So it still feels so Jason Goes to Hellish when watching this 4K. Couldn't be happier with it, quite frankly. Alright guys, so let's look at the release. We'll look up close at this, we'll look at the design, we'll look at what's inside, and then we'll talk about the special features, because maybe some of you are wondering, well, they had so many features on the Scream Factory release, there's no way that this has more. Stay tuned. Alright guys, so let's look at this slip again, and I gotta say, just to reiterate, I love it. And I hope you guys don't mind this video probably being a little longer than my usual reviews, because I love Friday the 13th. The back shows all the features that we have, which we'll look at that in a little bit more detail. Let's take this off. Of course, you can have this art on your case, or you can, of course, reverse it and have that beautiful Jason Goes to Hell art. Look how weird this is with that Arrow Video rainbow down there. I just never thought I would see this. As a matter of fact, it still kind of looks bootleg or fake. I'm just not used to Arrow having some Friday the 13th film. My theatrical cut is in the player background on the TV. I was watching the special features, and then the unrated cut is right here. I would be remiss if I didn't say I still wish that these were chunky box releases. I'm just assuming they couldn't do the license for these movies in that capacity because they would probably sell even more. But let's look at the two things we got. The first thing is the poster. Oh, that has that Arrow smell, that strong Arrow smell. And listen, I wouldn't blame you guys if some of you wanted to hang this artwork up. I just love it. I think they did a great job. And then, of course, on the other side, we have the original Jason Goes to Hell art. Very, very crisp posters. I'm pretty happy usually with the posters that we get with these. They're usually nice, but the Arrow ones, they look really good. And I gotta say, one thing Arrow does that is I just think is better than what Scream Factory does is they just put the posters in the cases like this and they size them down a little bit. I prefer that as to having the posters ship in a separate tube that come with them and they're limited as well. That's one thing Arrow does do better than Scream Factory, but not crapping on Scream Factory. I just prefer Arrow's method of shipping posters with the release inside and that old school appeal of the folds on the poster. I don't know, like a lot of one sheets were folded back in the day. Some of them were rolled, but a lot of them were folded, and I like that aesthetic. The Autopsy Investigation Coroner Certificate of Death book. Look at that. That is wicked cool. That would make a great tattoo, that picture of Jason. And let me show you guys the art on the back of this. This is wicked. Look at that, y'all. My professional opinion, this guy's deader than shit. Let's flip through the book a little bit. The Seven Circles of Jason Voorhees by J.A. Kurzweil, original production notes, and about the presentation. So this is going to go over how they restored the film and the production of the film. Great pictures in here. Very, very cool. So here's the write-ups that start right here. I love the picture. Look, this is why I say this is so vintage. This movie feels so vintage. So this is all about the production of the film, leading up to the production. God, look at that. Behind the scenes of some of the effects work. So I love this book. Can't wait to sit down and read this. It looks like there's even interviews with here, archival interviews with Kane Hodder. Really, really cool. About the filmmakers. So I think you guys will get a kick out of this. If you're like me and you want to know what they had for catering on the set of a Friday the 13th film, you'll enjoy reading this, I think. So that's a nice touch. I believe we have something else in here. Let's see what it is. Sometimes these have promotions for different movies on them, and this one has Demolition Man. Interestingly enough, I believe it was my Trick or Treat 4K that actually had the Jason X promo in there, and that's when we were all like, oh my god, Jason X is coming out. Alright guys, so let's look at the back and talk about the special features that are on this, and I'll tell you guys if there's some new stuff on here. Spoiler alert, there is, and I was pretty damn happy with it. Let's get into it. Okay, guys, so you'll see in the back, we'll briefly look at this. I'm not going to read everything verbatim, but we have the 4K Ultra HD limited edition contents, talking about how the movie is presented with Dolby Vision HBR10 compatible. Now, something super important on here is they have the theatrical and the unrated cut. Let's cut for a second and go back to the A-roll. I know this could sound a little bit silly, but for me, in history's sake, I'm so happy that they put the 4K of the theatrical as well as the unrated on here, because sure, the unrated is the way most people have seen it and will continue to see it because of the home video releases since the dawn of the VHS with this. But the theatrical release is still how the film was presented to audiences in the beginning. And I think that's still a way to present the movie to people, and it should be preserved. I don't think it should just go away. And Scream Factory was good about that with Friday the 13th, the original. They gave you the theatrical cut as a 4K scan as that as well, and I applaud that. I love the history of these films, and I want it preserved. So happy about that. Let's go back. All right, guys, so on disc 1, we have an introduction by director Adam Marcus. You will see that was on the Scream Factory, where he jokes saying, hey, thanks for buying your 5th copy of this. Faces of Death, a brand new interview with special makeup effects creator Robert Kurtzman. Undercover Angel, a brand new interview with actor Julie Michaels. And Mixing It Up, a brand new interview with a composer Harry Manfredini. From this point, this is all the stuff that you would have seen on the Scream Factory. And on disc 2, that's where we have commentaries, new commentaries with Michael Felsher and Steve Uncle Creepy Barton, archival commentary with Adam Marcus and Peter Bracke, and another archival commentary with Adam Marcus and Dean Lorey. So, 3 new interviews. Now, some of you could be saying, well, that's 3 new interviews. What about it? Big deal. Here's why I like this. Now, the first one that they had on here with Robert Kurtzman, I could be wrong, but they actually look like they showed some pictures behind the scenes of Jason Goes to Hell that I hadn't seen before. I don't ever remember seeing pictures of Kane Hodder and the makeup of the face without the mask on, and they had shots of him where Robert was like, no, we did have an undermask for Jason, and it was very much like a skeleton. And I know that I have a bust of Jason Goes to Hell back there that has that look, but I always thought that was a concept look. I could be wrong, but they had some great pictures behind the scene photos with Robert Kurtzman's interview, and he talked about all the effects that they did on this, and what he thought about the film, which I really enjoyed. The Julie Michaels interview was great. We actually got to learn a lot about Julie Michaels, her career, where she started doing movies like Roadhouse, becoming a stunt person, and it was a great interview, and her opinion on the film as well. And then last but not least, the Harry Manfredini one. Loved it. Harry talked about not only scoring Jason Goes to Hell, but his thoughts on the film, which I was very interested in, and his approach to the film, the way he did these scores and things like that, and the technology. He loves updating his technology as the movies were coming along. I enjoyed all 3 interviews. All 3 interviews I found to be really good, and they were red shirt pictures, so I believe that was Michael Felcher who produced all these, as well as Cliff McMillan, who is now the person who gets titles for Arrow. So this is a great release. I actually think this release, taking my fandom out of it, I would be comfortable saying if you already have the Scream Factory release, you could still get enough meat on the bone with this to feel happy about the purchase. I think the interviews that they did are good, and I think the picture quality is awesome on this. Like I said, the Scream Factory release, picture quality-wise, very competitive still. I'm not going to disparage that Blu-ray that they did because I think it's great. But, I mean, I was super happy with this, and I love that they gave us the theatrical and the unrated cut. So far, I think this release is as much bang for your buck as the remake, because the remake had some fantastic interviews with the director, Marcus Nispel. Believe me, nothing would have scared me more than to come on here and say, I don't think it's good. It would break my heart. I wouldn't avoid saying that, but I was really hoping I wasn't going to have to say that. But no, Arrow did a great job on this. I'm so happy. These Warner titles they've been getting, like Trick or Treat and the remake, I've been so happy with. So, with that being said, guys, I'm going to give the Jason Goes to Hell 4K a big thumbs up. I'm going to give the release in total a 8.8 out of 10. A little bit higher if they would have maybe had one more interview with Sean Cunningham to talk about the film and kind of like break up some of the spells about this movie that we've heard about. But I have a feeling that Heart of Darkness documentary is going to do more of that coming forward. So we'll review that documentary when it comes out as well. But guys, if you are on the fence, hopefully this review helps you out a little bit. And if you have any more questions, please feel free. I cannot shut up about these movies. I'd be more than happy to try to help guide you in any way I can. But for now, this is your old pal CHH saying Arrow Video did a good job on Jason Goes Straight to Hell on 4K UHD. Huge giant thank you to all of my Patreon supporters. Without you guys, this would not be possible. To get behind the scenes photos, videos, music, private live streams, and much more, you can subscribe to my Patreon for as little as $1 a month. Thank you to my patrons.